One bright summer's day on the island of Sodor, James the Red Engine was busily at work shunting and hauling freight cars into their proper sidings for trains to take. He was feeling confident and cheerful as Thomas and Edward came in. "Hello, James. You do look splendid today. I'm surprised you decided to shunt freight cars in the yards without complaining." "Yes, indeed, Thomas. I'm just trying to prove to Topham Hatt that I can be a very useful engine. I thought of just, caring for the other engines. That's all." "Well, that's pretty nice of you, James. But didn't you remember the very first time you pulled trucks?" James snorted. "Oh, please, Edward. Please just don't remind me." James snorted as Rebecca and Percy came into the yard. "Hello, guys. How are things going?" "Oh, it's going great. You're just in time to hear the story where James pulled trucks for the very first time." But James was feeling indignant. "Please, Edward, I don't think it's necessary to tell them that." "But why, James? Yeah, we wanted to know. We haven't heard it." "Well, I don't know how to say it, but it sounds embarrassing if you ask me." "Oh, please, James. You just don't want to hear it, do you?" "Exactly, James. Besides, I believe I was in that story too, you know." All right, fine, Edward. You can tell the story of the first time I pulled trucks, but it better not be that time where I crashed into a field." "Oh, no, James. It was before that even happened. But, let's see, which story was it? Oh, yeah. And this was the story Edward told them. Long ago, on the island of Sodor, things were very different indeed. Gordon still pulled the big express like always. And Thomas, however, well, he was very different. Before Thomas became the #1 blue engine like we know today, he was painted in a different color, and of course, he was also from a different railway. He wasn't used to passenger trains since this was before he got his own branch line, and he occasionally shunts freight cars in the yards. And almost every time, he could never seem to shunt freight cars right. Luckily for him, he was willing to learn better, so I was there to help, to make Thomas more sensible. James, on the other hand, was different back then as well. He was painted black back then, and he had wooden brake blocks too. James was also in charge of passenger trains, meaning that he had never once pulled trucks on the railway. He enjoys the attention he gets from passengers as he sped along the line with the wind blowing across his funnel. And Henry, on the other hand, often gets sick very easily due to firebox issues, because he can't build enough steam very well. It all changed one day when Henry was too sick to pull a freight train to Wellsworth Station. Thomas, on that day, was also sick too because his fire kept going out and he wouldn't make enough steam properly. The controller of the railway, Sir Topham Hatt, rushed over to James and I for urgent news. Henry was meant to take this freight train to Wellsworth Station after Thomas gathered the cars together, but because they're both too sick, and because Gordon is too busy with the express, I suppose, I'm asking you, James, to do this job. James knew that he had never pulled trucks before, but he was willing to do it. After Sir Topham Hatt left, James backed down onto the trucks and was just about ready to start. I soon puffed up to warn James. "Please be careful with the trucks. They are very different compared to coaches. If you bump them too hard, they will play tricks on you." James was shocked. "Gosh, I wouldn't want to come off the rails at a dangerously high speed, but I am determined to make Sir Topham Hatt proud, so if you'll excuse me, I better get going." And James was just about to puff away. "Wait, James, you can't just leave yet." "Oh, what is the matter now? You almost forgot your brake van." "Now why on earth would I ever break a van?" I couldn't believe what just came out of James's mouth on that day. It was like teaching a child all over again. A brake van is something that you use on the back of your freight trains in case you go way too fast down the hill. James was confused. "But I don't usually have that on the back of my coaches." "Well, that is different," I said. "Now if you'll excuse me, I need to go fill up some coal so I can take a passenger train and then meet you up at Wellsworth Station. Then I puffed away. Before I left to take my passenger train, I told Thomas that he needed to shunt the brake van next to him over to James's freight train. But Henry was worried. "Are you sure you can do this, Thomas, even though you're feeling very sick?" "I may be sick, Henry, but a useful engine must do as they are told." Near the top of the hill, Thomas found the brake van that was for James's train. However, because Thomas was too sick to bring it all the way down the hill, he was intending to give it a little nudge so it would roll down the hill. Well, that ought to do the trick. Anyway, I'm going back to the sheds because I'm not feeling very well. Thomas may think he had gotten the brake van down the hill to James's train safely, but unfortunately, the brake van went down the hill so fast that the momentum of its speed hit the back of James's train so hard that it flipped upside down. The conductor scrambled out of the brake van. He wasn't hurt, however. James didn't notice this. He thought that I was the one who buffered the brake van at the back of his train. Well, that was nice of Edward. He's a very kind little engine after all. With the toot of his whistle, James started to puff slowly away to Wellsworth Station. However, there was trouble going on at the back of his train. The brake van was being dragged along the ground. It was being torn to shreds. As James was puffing through the countryside, he was feeling very pleased with himself. Wow, I never knew pulling trucks was that easy. I should do this more often. And he started to go faster and faster, but he was going so fast that the brake van was being dragged along the rails. It was being torn to shreds. What a beautiful red caboose. It was so beautiful and red that unfortunately James had to completely destroy it. As James rounded the bend at a dangerously high speed, the coupling between the brake van and the final truck snapped, and the brake van tumbled across the ground. The van was completely destroyed by James's infamous actions. At last, James managed to reach my station. Sir Topham Hatt was there, too. "Well done, James. I guess pulling trucks seems to be easy for you after all." James blushed. "Oh, it was my pleasure, sir." As James was about to pull slowly forward just to bring me his trucks, then I noticed something really fishy. James, where's the brake van?" "The what? Excuse me, I don't know what you're talking about." Before he knew it, James noticed that the brake van at the back of his train was now missing. "Huh? What happened to it?" I think I can explain everything," came a voice. James knew this, and there, right next to him, was Thomas the tank engine with the breakdown train, and what's left of the completely destroyed brake van. It was now tattered and into pieces, of course. Sir Topham Hatt was very furious. "James, what the hell is this?" "Oh, nothing, sir. It's just a brake van, of course." "Uh-huh. Well, what's left of it, of course. You've completely destroyed it. It was so beautiful, so red, and it's also one of the few brake vans we have in the yard. You totally destroyed it. Now it's gonna have to be scrapped. As an appropriate punishment, well, I'm gonna have to take away your passenger duties until you can learn how to handle trucks better." James was shocked. "But sir, you can't do that. I like my passengers better." "Uh-huh. Well, I like brake vans that are not totally destroyed, if you get what I mean." "You've got a lot to learn about trucks, James. After pushing them about here for a few weeks, you'll know almost as much about them as Edward. Then you'll be a really useful engine." And that there was the whole entire story. Did you enjoy it? Rebecca and Percy both chuckled. Now that is something to remember for, am I right? James let off steam feebly. He didn't say a word. "Oh, I'm sure he'll get over it soon. But next time, James, don't destroy any more cabooses, will you?" "You watch your mouth. I already learned my lesson long ago. After that, thank you very much. Besides, I bet Edward, however, has a story about Rebecca there." Yeah, well, I really don't think so, James. Please settle down, guys. However, I don't have a story about Rebecca, unfortunately, but I do have a story about Thomas, though. Well, before he got his own branch line, though. Now it was Thomas's turn to be cross. I think that's really enough. Thank you very much. And he puffed away. Ever since that very day where Edward told the story about James destroying a brake van, other engines and roadway vehicles would not stop teasing James. But I'm sure that James will just ignore them. Don't you?